dissent must never lead to
Hi guys, welcome to Xcom 2 War of the Chosen. It's a mod core collection.
Senator Bernie Sanders drawing
It's getting near the end of the game now.
Harrison says this does feel like Biden's Vietnam. Earlier yesterday at the White House, Jim Cramer, who many say was responsible for President Biden winning that 2020 election, as you can see here, he received the Medal of Freedom.
Here we are.
Other Democratic colleagues were also honored, such as Al Gore, John Kerry, Nancy Pelosi. The White House pushed back earlier on any comparisons to Vietnam.
Joe Biden ended the longest war in American history and just succeeded in convincing both parties in Congress to make crucial investments in our national security.
Many historians are making the comparison to the situation across the country right now and the summer of 1968. One of the major differences, some say, though, is protesters today. Many are wearing masks, and many don't speak to the media.
Lucas Tomlinson live on the North Lawn. Lucas, many thanks. Aisha?
Anti-Israel protesters at George Washington University last night superimposed an image of President Biden on top of the American flag with the words, "Genocide Joe." This as protests and demonstrations are ongoing at campuses across the country. Our Matt Finn is live at New York University today with more on what's happening there. Hi, Matt.
Good morning, Aisha. It's a very different scene this morning compared to just a couple of hours ago last night when police ultimately busted up this encampment. You can see right now NYPD is still manning this area, but it was a much different scene last night. Hundreds of pro-Palestinian protesters gathered right out here outside of NYU. Ultimately, NYPD took 59 people into custody. 12 were quickly released. And a short while ago, a student from Rutgers in New Jersey told Fox he and his Jewish friends don't feel safe.
Just my own experience and my friend's experience. I've had friends and been called anti-Semitic slurs walking around campus. I'm part of the Jewish fraternity, and our house has been egged multiple times. I've watched students walking in the kippah be pointed at and laughed at. So it is definitely an issue, and it's definitely sort of on the rise of late.
Heading south in D.C. at George Washington University, yesterday staff put up that large American flag, but later on, protesters projected a Genocide Joe signal onto the flag. Headed west out in Los Angeles, UCLA, the pro-Palestinian campus there was quite literally trashed. Bulldozers came through, clearing out the remnants of the camp there after it turned violent earlier this week. Countless pieces of debris, lawn furniture, plastic, all left over went into dumpsters after protests turned violent in westwood Los Angeles just a couple of days ago.
UCLA has a student body of 30,000 students, 30,000. And at the height of this demonstration, there were several hundred, including large numbers of outsiders who aren't even actually students. So let's keep it in context in some respect. This is not a huge movement. It doesn't involve tens of thousands of participants. It is accomplishing what it is intended to do, though, attracting a lot of publicity to their issues and their cause.
Back live here at NYU, we can report there is calm right now. Police outnumber any protesters or civilians here, but we are keeping an eye on any potential demonstrations throughout the city. We'll be here and we'll keep you updated.
We are glad you are there. Thank you, Matt.
As the number of anti-Semitic attacks have spiked since October 7th, one Jewish-owned company in Atlanta says this isn't just a statistic for them, it's become a reality. Madison Scarpino is live in Atlanta with more. Hello, Madison.
Hello, Mike. A cookie shop right by Emory University here in Atlanta has Jewish owners, and Emory is one of the many schools where police shut down anti-Israel protests. Well, since October 7th, the owner says that the store has been receiving threatening emails, calls, and people are vandalizing it. And they say since all the protests, things have gotten worse.
One person called and threatened us that he will come and burn us, and he said that he hates Israel and hates all the Jews, and we deserve to die.
The husband and wife owners started displaying an Israeli flag in the store since the start of the war, and they say sales went down while attacks went up. For example, the store received an email last week saying in part, quote, "Your store is going down unless you will stop supporting a country that murders, tortures, and commits a genocide." They say threats and attacks like this happen 2 to 3 times a week. And they're not alone. Less than a month ago, an anti-Israel protester appeared in court after officials arrested her for allegedly threatening to murder a city council member in Bakersfield, California. And that's one of many other examples. And according to the latest data from the Anti-Defamation League, 60% of all anti-Semitic attacks last year happened after the Israel-Hamas war. Mike?
Madison Scarbino live in Atlanta. Madison, thanks very much.
So for more on what life has been like on college campuses as of late for Jewish students, let's bring in now George Washington University student Sarah Renbaum and Columbia University student Parker Diddecker. Thank you both so very much for joining us. I know this is tough. This is not something that you guys should be talking about during your college years. You should be out this weekend having a good time with your friends. This is finals week. This is not the conversation that you should be having. So thank you for being with us. I want to first play the soundbite for you because I think it's going to make your blood boil. This is from Progressive Chairwoman Pramila Jayapal this week. And this is her answer when she was asked what advice she has for Jewish students who don't feel safe on campus.
Listen, what would your message be to a Jewish student who doesn't feel welcome or even safe on their own campus right now?
I think my message is the same to a Jewish student, to a Palestinian student, to everybody, that it is really important to educate yourself about what is anti-Semitic, about what is Islamophobic, to separate people from an action of a government, and that it is good to protest based on your values.
So Sarah, I'll come to you first. Educate yourself. How does that make you feel?
As someone who is extremely educated already about the subject, I have spent time, reading and learning from my peers and from professors and from my family about what it means to be proudly Jewish and what it means to stand up for yourself and your beliefs. And as someone who attended a pro-Israel and Jewish rally on campus on Thursday morning, we sang songs, we held hands, and we spoke about the 133 hostages that are still held in Gaza. That is what it means to educate yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Parker, I'll get you to respond too, but I got to ask you about this Columbia Law Review situation going on. I'm sure you've heard about this. The Board of Student Editors is now asking the law school to cancel classes and also give them passing grades, or at least pass or fail, because they are irreparably shaken, quote, and unable to focus and highly emotional during this tumultuous time. Parker, give me your thoughts on that. You go to Columbia. They're shaken because of protests that they are causing.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing. I think, every Columbia student is definitely shaken. I think particularly Jewish students are shaken. And these accommodations weren't given to Jewish students until we had a significant donor, Robert Kraft, withdrawing his money from the university and providing that threat, or having Speaker Johnson come to Columbia University and asking for a minutiae-based resignation. And so the biggest thing is Jewish students have been calling and asking for accommodations to make us feel more comfortable on campus. And only until these actually drastic events happen does Columbia actually respond. And so I think regarding your question on the law school issue, I think it's graduate school. I think it's really important to have accommodations to if you're a threat of anti-Semitic remarks or Islamophobic remarks. But I think doing things across the board, it's still Columbia University Law School. And I think they're separate from the rest of the main campus. The law school's across the road, but it's definitely not on the main campus where all the turmoil has been going down. So I definitely think it's an interesting take to be had.
Yeah, and when you think about finals and people being allowed to be students there, I mean, there are some Jewish students not even being allowed to be on campus. They're actually being stopped because of their ethnicity, which is wild. That's happening in America. This is not a foreign policy issue anymore. This is really about what do we stand for as Americans. Parker, I'll come back to you because the Office of Civil Rights is investigating a plethora of Title VI violations, 130 plus cases nationwide. And Secretary Cardona this week called it abhorrent. Some of the things that are happening in real time that are obviously clearly violations of civil rights. Do you feel like this administration is doing enough and doing it quickly enough to eradicate anti-Semitism and, I mean, just uphold your basic human rights to exist on a college campus?
You know, I think it's a combination of efforts that needs to happen. Specifically speaking, at GW, there is a case happening where we have asked the mayor, students themselves have called upon the mayor to bring in the extra support that Jewish student needs, whether it be to take those finals, whether it be to simply just be brave enough to walk around campus. That is what the issue is just to simply exist as a Jewish student. Do I think there can be more to be done? I absolutely do. But with the efforts that have been done already, I think it needs to be stronger.
Is there anything that's happened to you specifically or your friends that, stopped you in your tracks in the past week?
On Thursday, when the protest started at GW, my friends and I wanted to go observe and see what was going on for our own eyes, because this is history, and we want to see what is happening on our campus. There was a student wearing a mask, covering her face, who recognized me from my freshman hall, and she mocked me and she verbally abused me, and to feel that way on my own campus is just disgusting.
Yeah. Parker, I'll ask you, what can Joe Biden do for you today?
Joe Biden can continue to make statements about condemning anti-Semitism. I think that's a huge thing, but I also think he really needs to engage on this issue of anti-Semitism head on and provide a more clear definition of what is anti-Semitism in America. I think that's a huge thing that needs to be changed, because I think we have so many definitions, but our country has not adopted a singular one that is across the board, that applies to every educational institution. I know at my university, Columbia, if you go to our university campus live page and search up the definition of anti-Semitism, it labels it as the definition of anti-Semitism is often unclear to many. This definition isn't unclear. It's pure Jewish hatred is anti-Semitism, but my university can't even provide a definition, and there are many other universities across the country which can't do so. And so I think it's, first of all, classifying what chants at a protest are anti-Semitic. I think we've had the message coming from the House of Representatives that condemn from the river to the sea as anti-Semitic. I think there needs to be motion for there's only one solution, Intifada revolution. That chant has to come on and be condemned as anti-Semitic, because when you have those, historically, every Intifada in the past 4 years has led to the significant loss of Jewish, Israeli, and even non-Jewish Israeli life in the state of Israel, and also threats among other Jewish individuals around the world. There also needs to be a categorization of different words, like the word pig being used at Jewish students, also as anti-Semitic. After being on the news significantly over the past 2 weeks, speaking out against anti-Semitism and taking a public stance on my Zionism, walking back on campus last week, people are saying, "Oh, you Zionist pig," and then start going oink oink and oinking at me. And people don't realize the term pig, whether used towards a Jew or whether used towards any other individual, was used during the Holocaust, used during Russian pogroms, used during pogroms in the Middle East in the 1970s, 80s, and 90s against specifically Jewish individuals, because it's antithesis to our kosher law, and so being called a pig is like the antithesis to our very lifestyle.
I get it. But Parker, I'm Muslim, and if someone did that to me, I'd be very upset too. I totally understand. What boggles my mind about all of this is you are Jewish Americans going to American universities. You have nothing to do with what's happening overseas. And for people like this to target you, students, kids, who are just venturing off into your life, it's awful. Thank you to both of you, and you guys are both leaders, and I know there's a bright future ahead for both of you. So thank you for joining us and coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike?
Actually, for more on this, let's bring in Massachusetts Democratic Congressman Jake Auchincloss. Congressman, welcome.
Okay.
I want to play a clip for you from President Biden. I'll get you to react to it.
There's no place for hate speech or violence of any kind, whether it's anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, or discrimination against Arab Americans or Palestinian Americans. Simply wrong.
Congressman, is that strong enough based on what you're seeing happening on our college campuses?
President Biden is articulating that pluralism is a sacrosanct value for Americans, that we believe that everybody, regardless of nation of origin, regardless of color, regardless of religion, should be able to participate in American civil life without fear of harassment, and certainly should be able to participate in federally funded institutions like Columbia or Harvard or UCLA, all of which take federal grants, they should be able to go to class without being harassed. The violent and anti-Semitic nature of these student protests at these elite universities is a national travesty, and President Biden has called them so.
You represent Massachusetts. Have you got answers about schools in Massachusetts that are getting failing grades for handling anti-Semitism?
Woefully insufficient answers. The Anti-Defamation League recently ranked 10 Massachusetts universities for their campus anti-Semitism. I regret to say that 8 of them got a C or worse. 4 of them got an F. MIT, Harvard, Northeastern, and UMass Amherst. I've written to 8 of those universities requesting an action plan this month for how they're going to improve their campus anti-Semitism scores, because they're right now in Title VI violation. They are not creating a suitable learning environment for their Jewish and Israeli students. And when I was on Harvard's campus a couple days ago meeting with Jewish and Israeli students, the fact pattern that they laid before me was deeply demoralizing and troubling. These are students who are seeking to build a career, to learn more about the world, to have fun, and they're being ostracized from social environments, and they're being actively harassed because of their faith or because of their ethnicity.
Your colleague, Congressman Timmons, a Republican, was on last hour with my colleague Aisha. Let's play him.
These people are protesting. They're not pro-Palestinian, they're pro-Hamas. If they were pro-Palestinian, they would ask Hamas to accept the multiple peace treaties that the Israelis and the U.S. have tried to broker. So these people are breaking the law. The rule of law must be enforced, and the mayor needs to do just that.
Do you agree with him that a lot of these protesters are really supporting Hamas and not the Palestinian people?
Well, clearly the protesters are not a monolith. I think there are some protesters who are genuinely pro-Palestine and pacifists to their core and want to see peace the world over. I think there are some protesters who are pro-Hamas and pro-terrorist and deeply anti-Semitic, yes. And unfortunately, that tinge of anti-Semitism and pro-terrorism has accentuated these protests to the extent that they are becoming the defining feature of them. And I regret that. I regret that not just as a Massachusetts member of Congress who is having to deal with the fallout on these Massachusetts campuses from Jewish and Israeli constituents of mine, but I regret that as a proud American watching our country being televised overseas in this light. It's embarrassing.
To Capitol Hill this coming week, Democrats are expected to help Speaker Mike Johnson retain his job as some conservatives try to oust him from it. Is that the right move?
Yes. Speaker Johnson, with whom I have substantial political differences, he governed. And he stood up to his extreme MAGA flank in support of our Democratic allies, so I'm going to vote to protect him. I do think, though, that Americans should reflect upon the fact that when Democrats had to have last Congress, at this time, we were debating how to make healthcare cheaper by empowering Medicare to negotiate drug prices. Fast forward 2 years, Republicans are debating whether or not we should have a Speaker of the House. So they have been dysfunctional, but the last thing Americans need right now is for another 3-week temper tantrum courtesy of Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Your colleague Henry Cuellar of Texas is accused of some pretty serious allegations, taking bribes, unlawful foreign influence, and money laundering. Should he resign?
I think he deserves to have an investigation made public, and he deserves to be able to answer these charges against him. Like I've said on this show and others over the last 3 years, whether we're talking about Donald Trump or Senator Menendez or Hunter Biden or now Henry Cuellar, no American, regardless of rank or privilege, is above the law. They all need to answer to these allegations. They all get their day in court to present their own facts. And ultimately, they're all going to be answerable to the conclusions of law.
Congressman Jake Oppenklaw is grateful for your time today, sir. Thank you.
Good to be with you.
Great interview, Mike. So Britney Spears is now speaking out after an ambulance was called to her Hollywood hotel this week. That's next.
Did you know Slim has your favorite news programs for just $40 a month?
My favorite news for just $40 a month?
My favorite news for just $40 a month? $40 a month?
My favorite news for just $40 a month?
$40.
Get your favorite news for $40 a month. Sling lets you do that.
Introducing Club Advantage. It's everything you need for weight loss and wellness all in one place. Join now to get unlimited access to high-protein meals that help control hunger, science-backed nutrition, a dedicated support team, and personalized meal plans that work with any weight loss approach. Choose any amount of breakfast, lunches, dinners, and snacks at any time. No minimum purchase and no cancellation fees. Plus, get convenient delivery on your schedule free. Join right now to get your 30-day free trial.
This isn't just your normal bike. It folds, it unfolds, and it just goes. Need to climb that hill? No problem. And if you're looking for speed, you've come to the right place. 28 miles per hour, up to 65 miles of range. And equipped with hydraulic brakes. This is the Electric XP 3.0. Fully foldable, fully assembled, ships free. Simple as that. Go to electricebikes.com. and come ride with us.
Here at Allegiance Flag Supply, we grew sick and tired of flying flags that were made overseas, flags that would rip and tear easily. So we really made a commitment to quality. All of our flags are finished with hard tacking at all the stress points, and they are sewn using double needle lock stitching.
All of our flag materials are sourced in America, and they are made by American seamstresses. So we are American made from beginning to end.
Shop them at showallegiance.com. Tonight, we have this counter-revolution of Marxists and Islamists going on. New trial sounds off. Plus, Victor Davis and talks the real impact of war on Mike 40 Live.
My natural habitat. My life is in your hands.
On a mission to support veterans, to have fun, and welcome everyone to our ranks. You don't have to be a veteran to join the Legion. And as a member, you'll join thousands of other serving veterans, our communities, and our country. Going on, and our member perks program will give you thousands of shopping, dining, products, and services across the country. Join us at Legion.ca.
A photo of Britney Spears outside a West Hollywood hotel this week, shoeless and wrapped in a blanket, is sparking more concerns over the pop star's mental health. The singer explained on Instagram that she fell and twisted her ankle and said the paramedics, quote, showed up at her door illegally.
A brand new report released Friday shows lower than expected job numbers in the U.S. School off and lower those interest rates in the long run. Fox News correspondent Connor Hansen has details from
In April, U.S. companies added 175,000 jobs. It's lower than what experts predicted and well below March's major increase of 315,000. It quickly became one of the latest talking points leading up to the 2024 presidential election.
The job numbers just came out and they're horrible. And I say that not happily, I say that very unhappily. But the numbers are horrible. It's just these people are destroying our country.
President Biden released a statement painting a rosier picture. Part of it says, quote, with well over 15 million jobs created since I took office, working age women employed at a record high rate, wages rising faster than prices, and unemployment below 4% for a record 27 months in a row.
The president has been very clear. He's going to protect working and middle-class Americans making less than $400,000 a year.
The report comes after the Federal Reserve announced it was holding interest rates at its more than 2-decade high. Some economists hope the lower than expected jobs numbers could be a sign the hot economy is cooling, and that could push the Fed to drop rates sooner, leading to lower borrowing costs for homes, cars, and credit cards.
The Federal Reserve had felt looking at the economic numbers, particularly the employment numbers, that they didn't need to be in a hurry to cut interest rates.
Yeah.
I think it's still the case that they don't have to be too much in a hurry to cut interest rates, but they've got to think a little bit harder about it.
The Federal Reserve has signaled that it's focused on inflation dropping to 2% before it lowers rates. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
The summer travel season is right around the corner. Fox Business correspondent Kelly O'Grady has a look at the latest travel trends and what will cost you.
Looking for a cool getaway? Well, new data from luxury travel network Virtuoso showing the latest emerging travel trends, including more bookings to cooler climate countries this year. To Steve, that's Walter and Heath.
We're seeing a lot of interest in Europe, as we always do, but this time we're seeing them go to Northern Europe. Don't get me wrong, people still love Western Europe, and they're still going to Paris for the Olympics, but we're seeing much more demand for places like Scandinavia, which is up 77% over last summer. We're seeing Sweden up 145% over last summer, Denmark, Netherlands.
Virtuoso says demand going into the summer is strong, but rates on par with where they were last year.
Overall, everything else is more expensive. So you are seeing a lot of fluctuations in airfares are quite high, hotel rates are quite high, but then the cost on the ground is as well.
And despite higher costs, luxury travel is showing no signs of slowing down.
And that's the important piece, is that they may be willing to let go of luxury goods, other things, but they are not letting go of their luxury experiences.
According to Virtuoso, expectations that the cruise industry will become the strongest sector of the tourism industry are at 58%.
We're starting to see much more demand amongst millennials and even Gen Z. You're starting to see more solo female travelers cruising as well, which is an interesting dynamic. And then we're also seeing much more family cruising and multi-generational family cruising too.
And on the go, on the whim, American Express says about 80% of travelers are open to more spontaneous trips, with 44% saying they prefer to just pack up and hit the road, leaving the details for the last minute. In New York, Kelly O'Grady, Fox Business.
Well, we are following a breaking story this hour. Michigan's graduation disrupted by a pro-Palestinian parade. Probably the first of many more to come as graduation season kicks off. We're going to show you what we're learning coming up next.
My psoriasis was all over.
Then psoriatic arthritis. Who knew they could be connected? For me, Cosentix works on both.
Cosentix helps real people find clear skin, and psoriatic arthritis can mean less joint pain and helps stop further joint damage. Serious allergic reactions, severe skin reactions that look like eczema, and an increased risk of infections, some fatal, have occurred. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, had a vaccine or plan to, or if IBD symptoms develop or worsen.
So what's the code?
That's the 547. But that's all working.
That's where it needs to be.
We're going to get in a minute, okay?
It's not open, is it?
Representative. Speak with person.
You're a valued customer.
Representative. We can go in the window.
Just the first time.
Meanwhile, at a Verbo. When other vacation rentals leave you hanging, try one where you can reach a human in about a minute.
I'm Jonathan Lawson, here to tell you about life insurance through the Colonial Penn program. If you're age 50 to 85 and looking to buy life insurance on a fixed budget, remember the 3 Ps.
What are the 3 Ps?
The 3 Ps of life insurance on a fixed budget are price, price, and price. A price you can afford, a price that can't increase, and a price that fits your budget.
I'm 54. What's my price?
You can get coverage for $9.95.
I'm 65 and take medications. What's my price?
Also $9.95 a month.
I just turned 80. What's my price?
$9.95 a month for you too. If you're age 50 to 85, call now about the #1 most popular whole life insurance plan available through the Colonial Penn. Options start at $9.95 a month. No medical exam, no health questions. Your acceptance is guaranteed. And this plan has a guaranteed lifetime rate lock, so your rate can never go up for any reason. So call now for free information, and you'll also get this free beneficiary plan. And it's yours free, just for calling. So call now for free information.
Call 1-800-700-2020 for your free information and your free gift. That's 1-800-700-2020. Don't wait. 1-800-700-2020. Call now.
Hello, this is Franklin Graham. Deadly tornadoes have torn through the Midwest. Homes lost, lives lost. People's lives are upside down to the point they don't even know where they're going to sleep at night. Samaritan's Purse has teams on the ground right now responding. We want the people there to know that God loves them, that He hasn't forgotten them, He hasn't turned His back on them in the middle of these storms. God is still there. If you'd like to know how you can be involved, go to our website, SamaritansPurse.org. Thank you. God bless you.
I hear it all the time. People tell me they'd love to buy gold, but because it's gold, they think it must be complicated. It isn't. Not with Rosalind Capital. With Rosalind, the entire process from start to finish is built on one concept. One, keep it simple. Rosalind Capital, a trusted leader in helping people acquire precious metals. Gold bullion, Lady Liberty gold and silver proofs, and our premium coins can help you preserve your wealth. Call Rosalind Capital at 800-630-8900 to receive your free Rosalind Guide to Gold, Gold and Precious Metals IRA, and silver brochures. With Rosalind, there are no hassles, no gimmicks, and our shipping is fast and reliable. Remember, keep it simple. Make gold your new standard. Call Rosalind Capital today at 800-630-8900. 800-630-8900. That's 800-630-8900.
Breaking news happening right now. Anti-Israel protesters have disrupted the University of Michigan's commencement this afternoon. You're watching that on your screen right there. See them walking through down the aisle. They were holding Palestinian flags. They're chanting, "You are funding genocide." And one person reportedly in attendance shouted back at these protesters, "You're ruining our graduation." So we are going to be watching this very closely to see how this develops. But this is probably the first of many more. Graduation season is underway. Jen Psaki, former White House press secretary, is supposed to headline the commencement at GW University. Wonder how that's going to go. More on that coming up tonight.
Aisha, one issue Democrats are hoping will gain the support of young voters is a new policy on marijuana. The Biden administration wants to ease federal restrictions for the first time in a half century. Here is senior congressional correspondent Chad Berger.
College conflict races, splitting Democrats, but the party has high expectations that less restrictive cannabis rules.
All right, guys, we'll check you next time. All right, peace.